أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعنة الدائمة الباقية لأعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. Dear brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. In our Tafsir on Suratu l-Insan or Suratu Dahr, also known as Surah Hal-Ata, we talked about the preamble of the surah. Ayat number 1 and 2 talked about the creation of the human being. The reason why this surah is known as Suratu l-Insan, this is where, because it's talking about the purpose of life of a human being. Ayat number 3 talked about the guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. Inna hadaynahu as-sabil imma shakiran wa imma kafura. Either the person would be grateful by following the guidance, or they will be ungrateful by ignoring it. Then we come to the point where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the consequences of ignoring the guidance, where He talked about the chains and the shackles and the burning fire of Jahannam. And ayat number 5 and 6 actually talks about the consequences of following the guidance, just one scene from the reward. And Allah described those who follow the guidance as abrar. Abrar is plural of bar, which means those who are selfless, righteous people who do not expect anything from the people. And then we come to the part where we are discussing now, ayat number 7 to 22, which is actually, so what we had before was just a theory. Allah was saying, I created you, guided you, this is the purpose, and these are the consequences if you follow me. But then He wanted to give us an example. And this is where He gives us the example of those who are abrar of the highest level, and that is the family of Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha. And so ayat number 7 basically, which begins with the story of Fatima's family, begins with the words yufuna bin nadhr wa yakhafuna yawman kana sharruhu mustatira, that they fulfill the nazr, the vow or the pledge that they made with Allah, and fear a day whose evil shall be overwhelming. Now, I talked about the issue of nazr yesterday, just to explain what does it mean. This is where you actually make a commitment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that if this and that happens as far as fulfillment of my wish is concerned, I will do so and so. So it's actually a deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you do the niyyat that you are doing it lillah, it should be for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The nazr can be in any language. It will be acceptable from the Shari'i point of view. Now, before just I continue with the discussion, let me just share with you one more example of how we can secure our issues with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is actually a narration very beautifully from Imam Rida alayhi salatu wasalam, where he narrates the story of his grandfather, our sixth Imam. He says one day he was traveling with the caravan. Most of them were merchants carrying their own merchandise. On the way, somebody coming from the opposite side told them that there are robbers ahead on your path. A gang of bandits, and they are looting all the caravans they go through. So they became very afraid, and they came to the Imam who was traveling with them. They say, is it possible that we leave our goods with you? And Imam said, well, how do you know? Maybe they will come first to me. Maybe they don't like us. So I will be the first target there. So then they're thinking what to do, and some of them say, well, why don't we just bury it here and come and, get it back later on. And so they were not sure what to do, and they basically asked Imam, said, can you guide us? And Imam said, why don't you entrust your merchandise to someone who will guard the goods and multiply it and give it back to you in this dunya and the akhirah with extra profit. So they said, whom are you talking about? And he says, ذَلِكَ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Make a deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he said, give a portion of it for the poor and the needy. And they said, how can we, there's nobody here, poor and needy. And this is where Imam says, فَأَظِمُوا, make the niyyat, that 1/3 of your goods, it might sound quite a lot, but listen to it. It says 1/3 of whatever you have, you will give away in charity for the poor and the needy. And this is where, Allah will secure the rest that you want for yourself. And, it happened that when the bandits came there, they straight went to the Imam. And the leader there actually, and these fellows were afraid. And Imam said, why are you afraid? You have made a deal with somebody who will take care of you. And so the leader came, recognized the Imam, went forward, kissed his hand. And he said, I saw a dream last night where the Prophet came and he said, you will be coming in this caravan. He commanded me to come and be with you, protect your caravan and take you all the way to your destination. And so, they reached their destination, they went through their own, trade and business. And for each dirham that they had, this is 2/3 that now they have, the others they gave away. They actually got 10 dirhams for each one. And this is where they came back to him and they said, Ma a'zamu barakat as-sadiq. How great is the barakat of Sadiq? And this is where Imam says, قَدْ تَعَرَّفْتُمُ الْبَرَكَةِ فِي مُعَامَةِ اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ فَدُومُوا فِيهَا. Now that you know the blessing in dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, therefore continue this process. Salawat. So one way is nazr. When we have, challenges in our life, we do nazr that, oh Allah, if this difficulty of mine is overcome or my, the wish that I have is fulfilled, I will do, so and so. Now, remember, it is that you are doing it for Allah to help somebody. Whether it is in a monetary form, it's not that, Allah, if you, fulfill this wish of me, we will have kheer puri and eat ourselves. No, you have to feed the mu'mineen or the poor and needy actually more. So you have to realize it is for helping others, or even when we talk about mu'mineen, this is also a good thing. You're basically promoting the sense of brotherhood in the community. So going on to this issue of nadhr, before I go to that ayat again, yufuna bin nadhr, and talk about the story which we started last night, let me deal with this other sentence in the ayat, وَيَخَافُونَ يَوْمًا كَانَ شَرُّهُ مُسْتَطِيرًا. And they feared, the second characteristic that Allah describes of Ahlul Bayt there, that they are the one who fulfill the nadhr that they had made, and they are the one who actually fear a day whose evil shall be overwhelming, referring to the day of Qiyamah. Now you have to realize that the sense of fear here, when we talk about Ahlul Bayt or a Nabi or a Rasul, an Imam, it is a different kind of sense of fear than what we have. For the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Qiyamah and the consequences of that, what is going to happen, good or bad, it's not a future for them. For us, it's a news about the future. For them, it is like it's just in the front of them. For me and you, Qiyamah is ghaib. We don't know. We have just been told this will happen. For the awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Qiyamah is not ghaib, it is shuhud, as if they see it. Means when it comes to the actions, and this is where, we have to realize when we talk about infallibility and ismat of the anbiya and the aimma, ma'soom, or to be infallible, doesn't mean that they have been created in such a way that they are robots, that they cannot commit sins. Otherwise, there will be no virtue in infallibility and ismat. What it means is that they have been given that level of knowledge, and their love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is of a level that for them, although they have the ability to do whatever they want to do, but they will not do it because the consequences of actions are right in front of them. Many times I give the example, if you are traveling on 407 regularly, and under one of the overpass, the police car is sitting there, you might be going 130 or 140 like everyone else, but once you reach close to it, you will slow down. Why do you slow down? Because you have the knowledge that there is somebody, and if I go over the limit, I'll be caught. So that ilm stops you. When we talk about infallibility of the ma'asumeen, for them, guna is not just a statement, that something will happen in the future we don't know. For them, the consequences is right there. And this is where, you look at the example of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam in Quran, in Surah Yusuf, when Allah talks about the challenge that he had with the wife of this chief of Egypt. The way Allah describes the reaction of Yusuf alayhi salam, لَوْلَا أَنَ رَآ بُرْحَانَ رَبِّهِ. If he had not seen the burhan, the proof of his Lord. What is the proof of his Lord? He knows this action has these consequences. Ra'a, as if he saw that consequences. And that is what stopped him. This is the power of infallibility. On a lower level, when we talk about muttaqeen, those who are on the level of piety, they also have that sense of, feeling what is Jahannam and what is Jannah. Let me go to a statement from Imam al-Muttaqeen, Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. There is a very famous khutbah number 193 of Nahj al-Balagha. There was a person by the name of Hammam, a close companion of the Imam. He came to him and he said, "Can you describe who are muttaqeen, righteous people?" Imam just, described 2 or 3 sentences and stopped. And Hammam says, "No, this is not enough. I want more elaboration on this." So Imam then started a whole khutbah. By the time of Imam finished it, Hammam, poor fellow, had died. He could not, basically, it became overwhelming for him. And this is where Imam said, "I was afraid he will not be able to absorb it." And with the anxiety that he was feeling at that time. And so in there, Imam talks about the muttaqeen. This is just to give an idea that when we talk about, the awliya, as if things are right there. It's not just a news about future for them. Ali says that the muttaqeen are those that if they come across a verse from the Quran, creating eagerness for Jannah, they pursue it avidly, and their spirits turn towards it eagerly, and they feel as if it is in the front of them. So it's not only words of that ayat, it's as if the Jannah is right there, they can feel that. And then he says, and when they come across a verse which contains fear of hell, They bend the ears of their hearts, not this ear. The hearing of the heart, and feel as though the sound of hell and its cries are reaching their ears. So this is the sense of those who are at that level. And so when Quran uses this term about Ahlul Bayt, yu'funa bin nadhr, that they fulfill the nadhr, and then they fear a day whose evil shall be overwhelming. Their fear is different from our fear. Salawat. So we go back to the narration. Last evening we talked about the economic circumstances of the Muhajirin in Medina. It was not yet that good. And during the early days, they were going through difficulties, including the Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt. And so when Hassan and Hussein became ill, the Prophet came, visited, and he suggested to Ali to do nadhr, that once Allah gives them speedy recovery to their health, he will fast for 3 days. Following him, Bibi Fatima did the same thing. Following her, Fizza did the same thing. We came to that story to that point. So how was this nazar then fulfilled? Once the children became well, the time came for them to do the fasting, to fulfill the nazar. وَيُوفُونَ بِالنَّظْرِ Wafa of nazar. And so Ali and Fatima and Fizza decided to fast. Now fasting is easy because you don't have to do anything anyway. The challenging part was iftar. And Ahlul Bayt at that time were going through financial difficulties. So where will the iftar come from? This is where Amir al-Mu'mineen goes to a Jewish neighbor who had this business of spinning yarn. And he goes to him and he basically says that, give me 3 kilo of wheat as an advance payment for spinning the yarn. And, my wife will do it for you. And so, this fellow basically gave the wheat as well as the yarn, and this was brought home and given to Bibi Fatima Zahra. Now here I would like to stop, and inshallah, as I said, we will not go through the whole story. We can do it in 20 minutes. But we want to learn some lessons here. Number one, they were going through difficult, challenges. And so Bibi Fatima Zahra, on the first day of the fasting, which was the 22nd of Zul-Hijjah, as I said yesterday, we don't know which year, but the day we know it was 22nd of Zul-Hijjah. So Bibi Fatima took 1/3 of the yarn and span that. And only then she took 1/3 of the wheat to grind it into flour and to bake the bread. And this is where, when we know her title, Siddiqa, there is a difference between Sadiqa and Siddiqa. Sadiqa is a person who is only truthful in speech. Siddiqa means somebody who is truthful in all dimensions of life. And this is where you see the ihtiyat, the issue of being careful about the mal of people. If she has not yet done the work, she will not touch the payment. She first did the 1/3, spinning of the yarn, and only then took the 1/3 of the wheat to turn it into bread. Another point of reflection here is that, we know in Islam, it is the husband who is responsible for providing for the family. But things are not always same. There are challenges and difficulties, and this is where we have to realize that the wife can also help the husband. There is nothing like, it's your duty, I don't care if it's difficult time. you have to do it. This is where we see the flexibility when Quran talks about the marriage relationship and uses the term وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً, that Allah has placed these elements of love and compassion between the two. This is how it will reflect, that during the difficult times, it is not an issue of your right and my duties or your duties and my right. It has to be an issue of, helping one another. Of course, here the lifestyle during our days and in this part of the world is different. Many couples work. And so, it's taken for granted. But this is where I would say that the husband should realize and appreciate the contribution of their wives when it comes to, providing for the family is concerned. And you can even see another example. We talk about this issue of, can women go outside the home to work in order to, fulfill their needs? In Surah, in Quran, we have the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam and the daughters of Shu'aib. How Musa alayhi salam went there. When he reached to Madian, he saw that by a water well, there were shepherds with their animals. And there were two young ladies standing on the side holding their herd back. And so he noticed this for a while, and then he went and said, is there a problem? Can I help you? And both of them said, we don't like to mingle with other men. And we are waiting for them to move away from the well. Then we will take our herd, the sheep, our sheep, and water them. And they explain, because the immediate question would be, why you are doing this? Where is the man of the house? So before even Musa says anything, Quran uses the term that they said, Abuna Shaykhun Kabir, our father is an old person. So he cannot come. We don't have a brother. And so there's no man other than the father. And therefore we come and do the household chores which are to be done outside, which is the responsibility of the man. But the haya and modesty was there. So when we talk about, women going out of the home to work, as long as they maintain hijab and modesty in their interaction with the people, as long as it is formal and doesn't become social, they wouldn't be a problem. And there is nothing wrong in helping the husband during difficult situations to, overcome the challenges that the family would have. So inshallah, we'll continue the story tomorrow, and the full story, but I want to go to some details of it gradually, because I still have about a week or so. So I have to pull it in that way. Salawat padne ek baar. Going back to the masail of prayers, we had the last 10 minutes, inshallah. We talked about the issue of joining the Jamaat prayers. One more issue that I wanted to talk about is that in a 4 rakat namaz, the Jamaat is already in the 3rd rakat, and you joined in the 2nd one. So the 3rd rakat of the Jamaat is 2nd rakat of yours. And so when they go to the 3rd rakat and do the 2 sajdas, the Imam and the rest of the Ma'mumeen will get up to start their 4th rakat. Yours is 2nd rakat, so what do? You have to recite tashahud. So you'll sit and recite this tashahud quickly, minimum, which is ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika la wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. In those situations, you don't go into the mustahabbat, alhamdulillah, and then, the dua after that. You just go with the wajib, and then you quickly get up in order to join the imam in the final rakat before the ruku. Now when you get up for the second rakat, yours is third, and for the imam and the jamaat is the fourth rakat. Now you are supposed to recite tasbihat arba 3 times. But suppose because of your tashahud, you didn't have enough time, because the imam will go into ruku soon. So even if you do it once, subhanallah walhamdulillah wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar would be sufficient. But don't get used to that. This is only when you know that you will not be able to reach to the ruku of the imam. Now, a similar situation where you join in the second rakat, let's say before ruku, and then you want, at the end of that, the qiyam, there is qunut. So yours is first rakat, the jamaat is doing second. So they will recite the qunut. Here you can not follow, actually it's recommended that you follow the jamaat in the qunut, although it is yours first rakat. And you can even do yours in your second rakat. There's no problem there. So then you go into ruku, and after ruku, the jamaat now will go into tashahud. It is second rakat for them. For you, it was the first rakat. So what do you do there? You will sit there and follow the imam, even recite the tashahud, the way you did the qunut, although it was first rakat and you did the qunut. For you, this is the first rakat, but now you will do tashahud because you are part of the congregation. However, there has to be a difference between you and others, and that is in your sitting position. It is known as tajafi. Tajafi means, what do we call it? No, I have a term for it. I invented it, but when I remember, I'll tell you. Standby mode. Okay, so what do? You actually sit on the front of your feet, on the toes, with your hands on the ground and your knees slightly raised up. You get it? Or do you want me to ask Hyderabad to show it? So you stand up with your hands, you sit with your hands on the ground, and your feet would be such that you are putting the pressure on the front of your feet, on the toes and the area after that, and your knees will be raised. So you are basically in a standby mode, and when the jamaat gets up, you will also get up. And that will be indication that this is not your second rakat, although you are with the jamaat at that time. If you can't do it physically, then you can't do it. Just like those who can't, for example, bend over, they will not. They'll do ishara. Yeah. Or if somebody cannot sit that way, so they will just, sit normally. Yeah. Especially the part of, keeping the knees up might not be easy for some people because of, old age or whatever. Now, let me see how much you remember and how much I've been able to convey properly. Jamaat prayer is batil if a person goes ahead of the imam in actions, not in recitations. It will be batil if it is done intentionally और habitually बुरी आदत पड़ गई है इमाम से पहले जाने की, or by mistake, when will the namaz become batil? When it is done knowingly. In Fajr and Maghrib and Isha Jamaat, you are able to hear the Imam reciting the surah. And so you are not allowed to recite. You have to be silent and listen to the Imam. Otherwise your namaz will become invalid, or you have to change in niyat to furada. So this is important. We talked about it. Fajr, Maghrib and Isha. When the Imam is reciting the surahs and you can hear that, you have to remain silent. But if you read the surahs in your mind, so the lips or the tongue is not being used at all. It's not, doing even silently, just in the mind. Then is your Jamaat prayers batil or valid, or perhaps not? It is valid. Because you're just following it in mind, you're not reciting it. So reciting it, even in the slightest form, will not be allowed. It will make your Jamaat batil. In the third and the fourth rakat in Jamaat prayers, does the Imam, the Ma'mum have the choice of either reciting Al-Fatiha or Tasbihat Arba? So in the third and the fourth rakat, the Ma'mumin have this option. But then when it comes to the issue of, especially if you are in a situation like we talked before, yours is a second rakat and the Jamaat's is third rakat. Now this choice that we are talking about, this is according to the fatwa of Sayyid al-Khu'i, or according to the fatwa of Sayyid Sistani, or according to the fatwa of both. I didn't talk about it, but it's just part of what we had in our classes. So, any idea? The right answer would be according to Al-Khu'i, not this. According to Al-Sistani, when you are doing Furada namaz, then you have a choice between Al-Hamd and Tasbihat Arba. If you are in Jama'at, you don't have that choice. You have to recite Tasbihat Arba only. The choice is only for the Imam in Jama'at, not for the Ma'mumin. Yes. In trying to join the Jama'at in the third or fourth rakat, now this is where you are joining now. So yours would be first or the second rakat. And you fear that you wouldn't be able to recite Al-Fatiha fully. So basically the ruling is that if it's your first or the second rakat and the Jamaat's is third or fourth, you have to try to recite both surahs, Al-Hamd and another surah. But if the time doesn't allow, then at least recite Surah Al-Fatiha. But now the question is, even if you are not able to complete Surah Al-Fatiha and the Imam goes into ruku, and you are afraid that if you complete Surah Al-Fatiha, Imam will get up from the ruku, and you will miss out in the Jamaat. In this case, you can abandon Al-Fatiha or change the niyat to Furada, or right from the beginning just wait and not join until ruku. You can abandon Surah Fatiha wherever you have reached and go into ruku. Because joining the Jamaat, staying with the Jamaat, earning more thawab is more important than other issues there. In the Jamaat's third rakat and your second rakat, so now you have to recite Al-Fatiha. And the Jamaat is in the third rakat, you are in the second rakat. And you have to recite Surah Fatiha. And when you recite Surah Fatiha, normally we do it. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, we say it loudly. In that case, when the Jamaat is in the third or the fourth rakat, do you say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim loudly or silently or mumblingly? Silently. Because in the third and the fourth rakat, even when you recite the surah, including Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, has to be silently. And the last one, if you do Takbiratul Ihram before the Imam, this is the first takbir. And if you do that, then it is better, your Jamaat would be valid, or it is better to continue as Furada, or to stop and restart to join the Jamaat. You have to restart again. Do your Takbiratul Ihram after the Imam in order to be with the Jamaat and to gain the sawab. Okay, we have 3-4 minutes. Any question?
If it's your first rakat and the Imam is in the fourth rakat, right? And so you have to, Imam will start with Tashahhud and Salam. In the state of Tajafi, do you stay till the Salam is finished or after the Tashahhud?
Let me repeat the question. The question is that the Jamaat is in its last rakat and you are still there in the second or the first rakat. So after the second sajda, the Jamaat will do tashahhud and then recite salam to end their namaz. You still have to complete your namaz. So during that stage of tashahhud, do you wait and stay with the Jamaat and then get up? Actually, you have the option of getting up soon after your second sajda is finished. You can get up because you are not reciting tashahhud. To be with the Jamaat, you can be there in the state of tajafi, sit in a standby mode till the tashahhud is over, and then you will. Once they start salam, you get up.
You don't have to stay till the end of Salam?
No, you don't have to stay all the way till the salam.
This same situation comes around when the person is in the first line and he stands up and there are other people on the left of him. What happens then?
That wouldn't harm. The question is that if you are in the first line, I think practically it will be difficult to visualize this situation because you can't come in the middle. If you came at the end, then you are on the side. Yeah, well, if somebody, let's say, is doing Maghrib namaz and the Jamaat is doing Isha namaz, so at the third rakat his namaz ends and the Jamaat is getting up for his fourth rakat. In that situation, if you are in the first line or wherever you are, others are connected to the Jamaat through you, then you have to stand up and do the next namaz or a wajib qaza namaz. Because if you just sit there, your sitting will become a barrier for those who are connected to the Jamaat through you. So the better thing will be, if you don't want to do namaz, you move away from it. A gap of one person would be okay. But a presence of one person just sitting becomes a barrier. So if you just move away, even though there is now a gap, that is okay. That will not harm the connection of others. So either you join up stand up and join again, or you move away from there. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.